This is the Lance Wallnau Show. News is explosive today. I want to talk to you about that Peter Navarro and Elon Musk are evidently having a real dust-up there. And Elon is calling him a moron and stuff like that. I want to cover that news, but I want to cover the Supreme Court verdict. And there's so much division that's going on. It really bothers me that even in the kingdom, we've seen this happen. Paul and Barnabas were supposed to be together, and they broke apart. We got to pray for these guys that we don't crack up, because then Bannon's going to pile on, and Elon. We don't need the infighting. Mercedes, what can we suggest for folks that could help them as they go through strife like this in their own world? What do we have in our inventory for people?
Well, that's the reality, right? Personal relationships. And so what we've got is an amazing product taken from some of Lance's best training. I mean, things when we do a dream trip, people are paying $1,500 to come to these trips on top of the flights, on top of the hotels, just to sit at the feet of Lance Wallnau. Because you may not know him in this way, but we do great personal development, destiny-driven type material. And so what we have, it's a product called Gold Medal Performance, and it talks about how you relate to other people. What do you do in their strife? How do you reframe different conversations, right? So somebody cuts you off in traffic. Does that sit with you all day? You get angry about it? It just sithers, and then you just bring it into your next business meeting? No, you don't have to live that way. So we talk about how do you change your state? How do you have connections with other people? How do you form very fast, meaningful relational connections with other people? So lots of great material. It's in Gold Medal Performance. If you want to get a hold of it, lancewallnau.com/2 words, Gold Medal. So like you won the race, finish strong. That's the goal here. So Gold Medal, lancewallnau.com/Gold Medal.
I like that. That was you said it better than I could.
Oh,
go for it, people.
high praise.
And let's get into today's action. This is the Lance Wallnau Show, monitoring closely as we go through the crises of the breakdown, I'm going to call this segment, the great Elon Trump, Donald Trump alliance. The friendship is now undergoing a test of biblical proportions. And when I say that, I'm thinking of the story in the book of Acts, chapter 15, verse 36, where two men that God put together for the sake of a great work, Paul and Barnabas, because of the strength of these leaders' personalities, they ran together historically for a period, and then they broke apart because of the strength of their personalities in conflict. We got to pray, folks, that the Trump train doesn't lose one of its key tracks for traction. You got to have Elon on the train, but there's trouble in River City because Trump's trade advisor, the eminent Dr. Peter Navarro, who many of you know from War Room, he already paid the price of going to prison because of the left's malice. And now Elon, I have to say, is making the mistake of referring to our esteemed Peter as a moron, dumb as a sack of bricks, etc., all that kind of unhealthy banter. And I promise you, when Bannon gets this, as he already has, Bannon will drop the hammer, and then the War Room posse will have it. And I don't want you guys having that attitude on Real America's Voice towards Elon. We need the whole team. Don't let Barnabas and Paul break up. What's the issue here, Mercedes? First of all,
yes.
Is Peter Navarro dumb as a sack of bricks? I thought the guy had an education. If I'm not mistaken, he's Dr. Peter Navarro, so let's deal with that right now.
Well, he received his PhD in economics from Harvard University. And
wait, slow down. PhD from Harvard. As much as I have contempt for the way these Ivy League schools have become woke, back in the day when Peter went, just a while ago, it was an esteemed university. I'm talking about the Milton Friedman era of economics. That's where this man's fine instincts and knowledge were honed, and he's right on line with Trump's policies. You'd say he's educated, wouldn't you? What else? He's a Harvard PhD. Anything else? He's an active professor, isn't he?
Yeah, professor at the University of California for economics and public policy. So definitely accredited. Not a moron in this case.
No, certainly not. And Elon's bright. We know Elon is Tony Stark, but they have two different. You see, what I don't think Elon appreciates is that Elon's made his billions off of innovation and knowing how to navigate almost like an architect around any obstacle, and then how to leverage his business so that it keeps on multiplying. Trump is a different species of billionaire. He's a predatory animal in the jungle of New York, and he now is the protector of the America. America's like his family. It's his company, and what he's doing is he is using a psychological game against the global markets. Yes, it creates instability, but it's just for a moment in order to reestablish American preeminence within these markets so that he can make up for some of the losses that we've had historically. And that's why, Trump says that he's dropping the science on China. He says, I'm taking them up to 100% tariffs as far as I'm concerned, and I'm not even going to talk to them until they're taking their tariffs off of us. Then I'll drop tariffs, and maybe I'll do some talking with them. We'll negotiate, do a deal. But Musk says he hopes for zero tariffs. Yes, of course. In the ideal world, here's the scenario, the way I look at it. I'm ripping you off, and you say, hey, you can't do that, I'm going to sue you. And I go, okay, I'll stop ripping you off. Meanwhile, how many years have I been in your pocket? Trump wants to make up a little bit for the ripoff. That's all. He's kind of staggering his time and response. He wants zero trade with Europe. He said all along, I would rather have free trade. Elon goes right to free trade. Trump goes, I'm still upset over the way I was abused. I take it very personally. They took my money. I'm America. And I want to get a little bit of, I want to get a little payback. He wants some billions coming in while he discusses with them a fair and reasonable, individualized tariff rate for these countries. And zero tariff is what Elon wants. I see the wisdom in drop all trade barriers. China, let's go to zero, huh? How's that? That's better. But actually, like I said earlier, Trump benefits by having some tariff barriers. You know why? Because it makes those other countries want to do business here. Well, yeah, but if we do it here, oh yeah, if you do it here, then there's no tariffs. Mm-hmm. So he's got both cards he's playing.
I want to say one thing. Is that okay?
Oh, please do. Speak up. That's why you're here.
Well, I just think it speaks to just how diverse Trump's cabinet is. And I think that it's fantastic. I think it's great to have people with really different viewpoints. And I'm not even saying Elon's totally disagreeing with it. A lot of what's being portrayed, like the headline of a CNN article I have here, is truly a moron, quote, Elon Musk escalates spat with Trump advisor Peter Navarro over tariffs. The thing is, he called him a moron not over the tariff situation, but some of the comments that Peter had made about Tesla and how, it's really a car assembly. It's not necessarily manufacturing. And Elon's like, wait a minute. No, actually, we are the most vertically integrated car manufacturer in America. And so he's arguing about, like anybody would. It's like if I took my life and built an entire organization, I'd say, actually, no, you're mischaracterizing what I've taken all this time to build and I've worked so hard on. So some of what's being portrayed in the media isn't completely fair. That, I think Elon understands we're in a bit of a waiting game right now. We're calling each other's bluffs. Like a lot of countries are coming hat in hand. I think he trusts the president, but just like we saw from Signalgate, that the vice president had some different thoughts about, when we should be doing this strike. I think that's admirable that we have differing viewpoints within the administration, and Trump's role is to hear from all sides and then make that decision as the leader. I think that's fantastic. You don't have a bunch of people all saying the same thing.
I personally agree with you. Let's go to image 6 and take a look at, just to give you a picture for those of you that are in podcast land, not seeing the lovely multicolored image that I'm looking at, the reciprocal tariffs to key countries. So China, tariffs that are charged to the United States has 67% tariffs on the United States. The EU has 39% tariffs against the United States. Vietnam had 90% tariffs against the United States. Taiwan, I can't believe it, looks to us to protect them from China, 64%, and you're going to pay while you protect us. And Japan, 46%. And Trump said, no, I'm going to do a reciprocal. And it's interesting that we got 34% on China, which Trump raised to another 50 because he got upset with them for punching back at him. 20% with the EU, and the EU says, hold it. How about we drop that 39%, just go to zero? Trump says, no, I like 20%. Now you want to be my friend, right? Well, 20%, let's do that for a year and see. Maybe we'll ease up in 8 months. He wants some cash flow. Vietnam, 46% is on them, 90% against us. Taiwan, 32% to their 64%. But you know what they're doing? They're all calling in. And I think Taiwan is saying, let's just make it a free trade. Why don't we just, the countries are wanting free trade. They don't want the tariffs. Basically, this could have been done by Biden. It could have been done by Bush. It could have been done by Obama. None of them have what it takes to be able to protect the American and their donors. This is why Chuck Grassley annoys me. You know, Senator Grassley, and I like Mike Davis, works with Chuck Grassley, so I don't want to be too hard on him because every now and then we need him. But man, these senators are paid by these 6-year term senators. Trust me. The big money people in Wall Street and those interests are writing the checks to their favorite congressman, their senator, because they're the ones that are creating the favorable protected status for their investment. So you can't trust the senators who are saying tariffs aren't good. Where were you when the country went $2 trillion over in debt every year? Where were you? Coming up with we're going to have a special session and pass legislation that'll block the President Trump from putting tariffs on Canada, blah, blah, blah. Yep. We see the game, and we thank God for the leadership we've got with Trump right now. Let me just go ahead and play a little video. I like to break up the monotony here with a little video. So play the European Union says, oh, now they're willing to negotiate after, what did I show you a minute ago? 39 to 40% tariffs for like 10 years. Now they're willing to talk because Trump says, yeah, how about if I tariff you?
We stand ready to negotiate with the United States. Indeed, we have offered 0 for 0 tariffs for industrial goods, as we have successfully done with many other trading partners, because Europe is always ready for a good deal. So we keep it on the table. But we are also prepared to respond through countermeasures and defend our interests.
What language is that? It always sounds menacing when I hear someone like a German accent. Oh, it's about to do the countermeasures. You know the countermeasures I'm talking about?
That's so funny.
So I don't know what the countermeasures are, but we will give you tariff for tariff if you want to play tit for tat. And Trump goes, okay, we'll talk about it.
Well, he's deconstructing. I mean, you think of that Bible verse, Lance, I think it's in Jeremiah where it talks about, you have to tear down, destroy. There's like 4 different destruction words before you can build and plant. And you look at what Trump's doing. I mean, we have just spent the last 40 years, probably my entire lifetime, building a global economy. And so now integral things that we need, like medications. Do you remember in COVID when we were short on medications because we import so many different things from China and other countries? It's like certain things, and this is kind of Peter Navarro's case, certain staple items need to be manufactured in the States. Also, semiconductor chips, all of the things that power all of our phones, our vehicles with our push button starts now, that needs to be manufactured in the States. And I think that is really a strong component of the administration's long-term plan over the next couple of years, is to get those type of goods made here and get American jobs going.
But Trump knows it. And the thing is, you know what Trump is actually thinking? He thinks if he didn't go like with 0 to 0 trade, drop the barrier, he thinks he could eliminate taxes. He's actually toyed with the idea, if we collected enough tariffs, we're doing 50% of the business anyway in the world, and they're using our money. If we did this right, I could eliminate taxes off of Americans. I just don't think we have the strength. I shouldn't confess it, but you see the protests on the streets. Trump's enemies want him to fail. America, it's in a challenging moment. Can it not blink and let America win for a change? We'll be right back.
Clean, safe water. It's the foundation of a healthy home, but hidden contaminants could be putting your family at risk. That's why there's Sentry H2O, the smarter way to protect what matters most. It filters out what doesn't belong and restores what your body needs. Pure, mineral-rich water that tastes as fresh as it is clean. Because your family deserves more than just clean. They deserve water that supports their health. Go to lancewallnau.com/water and use code LANCE to save 10% on your water wellness system. That's lancewallnau.com/water, code Lance.
Well, I want you to hear this. President Macron, as one of the EU leaders, appears to be the most eager to retaliate. He said Trump's tariffs are brutal and unfounded. Do you know the story behind this? They're all thumping their chests, right? But here's the reality. When Donald Trump, the president, started moving in this direction earlier with a tariff challenge on exports of American products, and France was actually raising the tariff on some American products. I think it might have been whiskey or something like that. Trump said, all right, we're putting a tariff on all wine and champagne coming from France to the United States. Macron called him immediately and said, we're going to drop that tariff. We're not going to put any tariffs on the United States for anything. Mr. President, this will seriously hurt our economy. We cannot afford that. And so the president said, okay, I'll drop it. So I just want you to know the background. Macron is like, if he is the lead dog on the attack, all Trump has to do is say, I'm going to apply it to French exports of wine, cheese, and champagne, which is like 70% is the American, that's the restaurant business in America, buying French products. So let's play real brief. This is short, less than 54 seconds, but I want you to hear Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent breaking down the Trump tariff strategy with a long interview with Tucker. I'm going to give you the best minute. Watch this.
But do you think that the people who are hoping that yesterday's move will lead to a demonstrably brighter future within 4 years, is it your sincere prediction that within 4 years we'll say, actually, that kind of worked?
I believe that it's going to work, and I know that what we were doing wasn't working.
Yes.
So I think we have to try this, and I have a high confidence ratio it's going to work. I'm not happy with what's going on in the market today, but the distribution of equities across households, the top 10% of Americans own 88% of equities, 88% of the stock market. The next 40% owns 12% of the stock market. The bottom 50 has debt. They have credit card bills, they rent their homes, they have auto loans, and we've got to give them some relief.
That's the message right there. Just as a bystander, I'm like, wow, okay.
What's the message? 10% of the screaming memes here that are complaining own 88% of the stock market. 12% under them, the top 10% own 88%. Underneath them, in terms of wealth and income, they own 40%. So the bottom half of the United States doesn't really have anything there. They're struggling from day to day. Trump is doing something for the bottom half that nobody ever did. That's the amazing thing. Is Trump really aware of what's happening to the stock market with his tariff strategy? I'll play video 8 real quick. I got to see this.
A spoonful of tariffs makes the stock market go down. The stock market go down. The stock market go down. A spoonful of tariffs makes the stock market go down in the most delightful way.
Oh my gosh. I actually thought there was one quote, but I'm glad it was whoever put that together. Anyway, Trump knows exactly what's happening with the. For those of you, by the way, that are listening, that was a montage of clips. That wasn't actually a meeting Trump did. You might not know that unless you're watching it. All right. So, do you have any? Are we complete on this subject, you guys? It's going to be all week, so hold tight. Anything else you want to add before I switch subjects?
I think the team was going to try to find a video that kind of explains like some of the randomness is like, why is it that rate? Why is it 46? Why is it, 32? And so we were talking on the break to see if we could find a clip. I don't know if they have one ready, but maybe they could just let me know when. But it's actually really informative because it helped educate me.
This is the formula Donald Trump used to calculate his tariffs. Let's break it down. It's based primarily on existing trade balances. Until the announcement was made, it wasn't clear how those levies would be calculated. Now we have the formula used by Trump's team to work out who's going to pay what. It divides a country's total trade surplus with the U.S. by its total exports, based on data from the U.S. Census Bureau for 2024. And then that number was divided by 2, producing the discounted rate. Take China, for example. They had a trade surplus of $295 billion with the U.S. last year on total exports of $438 billion, a ratio of 68%. Divided by 2, according to Trump's formula, that yielded a tariff rate of 34%. The same calculation roughly produced the rates for other economies like Japan, South Korea, and the European Union. Even countries where imports and exports are more in balance, like the UK, were hit with a 10% levy by the Trump administration. The choice facing countries now: retaliate and risk further escalation from the U.S., or play the long game, hoping tariff relief could come through negotiations down the line.
Well, now explain what you heard there, Mercedes.
Well, it's a whole equation that they basically take the surplus and they divide it by, I think, what they export, and then they divide that by 2. And it was just, I just thought it was informative. But I'm looking at it, I'm looking at the giant chart he's holding, you're like, where did that number come from? So it was just supposed to be an explanation, but it was a little cerebral.
I want to cover this major win. Remember that nutty district judge, that issued an order that Donald Trump has to turn that plane around and bring those criminals back here so that I'll be the one to determine what you do as president. You don't have that freedom, and how dare you disobey the order of this judge in D.C., who is part of the machinery that is empowered by the left to stop your agenda. And, Trump, it went to the Supreme Court pretty fast. Now, I'm going to say the quiet part. Who voted against Trump deporting criminals and getting them out of the country? Amy Coney Barrett. And remember that look she had? That, if we could find that look, that gaze of contempt and malice, barely constrained, no longer veiled, just staring at him as he was completing the State of the Union address. I knew then, we don't have a friend up there. You think that the Supreme Court has a conservative majority? Well, I'm going to tell you. What's the matter? Why are you holding your mouth like that?
No, I just think how you recount things are so funny. One, when the justices are there, they're not allowed to have any type of facial expressions. They're not allowed to applaud. They're not allowed to thumbs up, smile. So I'm just saying, but you read this whole, I just thought it was fascinating.
I was right.
Look of,
come on, you people comment. Did you see the look? Did you see the gaze, that glare? Mm-hmm. The glare that could not be, it wasn't even suppressed. It was like,
oh, they've got a photo of it. Wow.
It's the hostile look. Zoom in on that. I want to do a facial recognition. Ever see that movie, Lie to Me? Oh, yeah. She's like, yeah, you, I'll deal. Look at Kavanaugh. He's kind of trying to suppress a smile. He wants to do it. He wants to do a high five. He can't do it. But, oh, no. She's like, oh, yeah.
I don't know.
Oh, yeah. Listen, watch the video clip. I know the people are on my side on this one. The People's Court.
Well, she's done a lot of good things, too. And maybe it's just how I am. But I'm like, we did overturn Roe v. Wade. She has voted the right way a lot of times. You know
what happens when you get to D.C., people? It starts to wear you down. It's kind of like the power of the ring at Mordor. Before you know it, you're bowing to the dark side.
All right.
I guess I'm confusing metaphors. That's a Star Wars plus Tolkien. Pull up. Okay, my son says pull up. Now, on to other news. Trump scores a major victory. Now, for a more, I like the way that Stephen Miller announces Trump's. Stephen he's an articulate lawyer who is now going to explain to us in ways we can understand what happened on the Supreme Court. Please play cut 16.
This was a huge, a monumental victory for President Trump. The biggest legal win of this administration so far. A total embarrassment for crazy Judge Boasberg, who's been trying to force this president to bring foreign alien terrorists back onto American soil, trying to turn our planes around, trying to empty prisons in foreign countries and bring them back to our soil. This is a monumental, colossal victory for the rule of law, for the Constitution, for our founding generation, John Adams, who signed this law into effect in 1798, and for President Trump in fulfilling his mandate and campaign pledge. What does this mean for you and your family watching at home tonight? It means that the Department of Justice, FBI, DEA, ATF, the U.S. Marshal Service, Customs and Border Protection, Border Patrol, and Immigrations and Customs Enforcement now have maximum authority to find and remove illegal alien gang members from Venezuela that have been responsible for so much misery in this country, for the torture and murder of Jocelyn Nungary, for the brutal slaying of Laken Riley. Those monsters can now be hunted down and expelled from this country with speed, force, and efficiency. This is a great day for America, Sean.
You see why I like Stephen Miller? Because he's one of Trump's speechwriters, but he's an attorney, and he's head of policy, I think, in the White House. What a great team we have together. They stress the system, they stretch the system, but they stay within the rule of law. And it's the kind of leadership team that we need. And I'm delighted that we have that development. Now, when we come back, we aren't coming back?
Not in this show.
I've got to close. All right, I want you to go to @Lance Wallnau, Wallnau on X, because I'm covering this massive anti-Trump protest that is taking place across the country. They declared Anti-Trump Day and had their activists activated all over the country. But I'm going to do a show tomorrow. I'll do one on my lancewallnau.com/podcast. I'm going to cover the protests for our local audience. We'll see you again on the next broadcast. God bless.
I hear every day about the products you all wish MyPillow carried. Well, guess what? We probably do. Slippers, bathrobes, pet beds, blankets, mattresses, sleepwear, loungewear, duvets, comforters, pot holders, aprons, oven mitts, and so much more. And they're all on sale. For example, get our best-selling standard MyPillows for only $14.98. Body pillows, $29.98. 6-piece bath towels or kitchen towel sets, just $29.98. Multi-use MyPillow 2.0s with pillowcase, $9.98. Save $40 on our Spring Percale and Giza Dream bedsheet sets. Any size, any color, and so much more. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save up to 80% on all MyPillow products. And I've never done this before. When you spend $100 or more, you're going to get 2 standard MyPillows absolutely free.
Did you enjoy this latest episode? Please remember to share it with your friends, because the more knowledge you have, the better equipped you are to navigate the world.